start off looking at finishing up. We kind of read over verse 16, but I think this is one of those chapter breaks that maybe is always seemed to me in a weird place, because he ends up saying in 16, Paul's telling, they profess to know God, but they deny him by their works. They are detestable, disobedient, and unfit for any good works. You know, I want us to look at that seriously. You know, it's real easy for us to see somebody who is extremely off course. But look what he's saying. He says they profess God. Everyone in here is professing God. But is our work showing it? Is it just lip service? Or are we truly living what we think we should be doing? Or know what we should be doing? Or do we justify it by saying, well, I don't have time to do that right now, maybe later? You know, we need to watch our actions and our work. James, of course, we know spends a lot of time. Faith without works is dead. If we're not doing what we know we should be doing, what is Paul saying here is detestable. At least in ESV. Does somebody else have another word he uses there? Detestable, disobedient, and unfit. That's pretty strong language.
American Standard says abominable.
Abominable. Does it get any worse than that? These are people who, on the surface, look good. They're saying all the things, but they're not doing it. We need to be careful of that. And so in contrast now, starting in chapter 2, verse 1, but as for you, yeah.
At the end of that, I question what it says, and disqualified for every good work. So does that mean, since they're denying him and are so detestable and everything, that any good work that they do after that is disqualified?
Not after that, but during that.
Well, during that. That's
if they're not willing to change,
they're disqualifying all their good works because of the...
That's right. You remember, go ahead.
Okay.
That's okay, go ahead.
I'm saying that another word is worthless. So it's not that they're unfit. They can't do good works.
Right, while they're in that state.
Yeah.
Not that they can't change, it doesn't say that, but it says because of their lack of doing what they're saying or their fronts that they're putting on. Remember Paul says lukewarm's no good? This is a lukewarm. Someone who's saying the right thing but doing the wrong thing.
American Standard is disobedient.
Right.
Unto every good work.
Mm-hmm.
For that condition. What's that scripture that talks about the sepulcher?
Yeah.
You look good on the outside, but you're full of dead men's bones.
Yeah. And we need to be careful with that. Did that answer your question? Okay. But then he says, for as for you. Who's as for you referring to? Titus. Remember? These are instructions to Titus. So as for you, Titus, and really, we could put our own names in there, but right here, we need to do the very same thing Titus is doing, don't we? So right here he says, as for you, teach what accords with sound doctrine. Remember we talked over the last few weeks about sound doctrine? That is going to come up over and over and over in this lesson. That's how important that is. And like Roger referred to, that means healthy doctrine. Healthy in God's eyes. It's a healthy doctrine that we need to be teaching. Unlike the other ones who are teaching something and not doing it. This needs to be healthy. And you'll see that over and over again in little different ways. But sound doctrine is very important. It says, now he's going to talk to older men. And we're going to look at, he's going to cover everybody. We're going to talk about older men, older women, younger women. Nobody left, right? We know that. That covers everybody. I'm glad and I don't know, does any of your versions say something other than older? Aged? Yeah, I like older better than aged.
I thought you said aged. Did you say aged?
No, aged. Older's are more correct because think about this. It's not just the oldest person in the congregation, is it? Everyone's pretty much older than someone else, for the most part. But the mature men of the congregation has a certain duty. They are to be, and this comes up again, sober-minded. We talked about this in Ephesians 2, not Ephesians 2, but Ephesians also bringing up the fact that we need to be sober in mind. What does it mean to be sober in mind? Sober-minded. What does that mean?
Like clear thinking?
Clear thinking? Anybody else?
My Bible says temperate.
What's that?
My Bible says temperate.
Temperate, which is the same type of meaning. We need to be clear in our thoughts and precise, making it healthy. Kind of all ties together. And we've seen that. Where else? We've seen it in the elders. Well, we can read it in 1 Timothy also. It goes over and over. It's going to talk about every group needs to be sober-minded. If you're given to wine, if you're drinking, are you clear thinking when you drink?
No.
If you're on drugs?
No.
If you have false teachings?
No.
How does that distort your thinking?
It ruins your thinking.
Do you ever notice how people spend so much time trying to denounce the scriptures and do their own thing that it becomes confusing in their mind? See, we're lucky because if you're following the scriptures, it's always the same. If you're trying to change or do your own thing, you ever tried to tell a lie and then remember it later? Someone who you're telling it to, you forget that they said, well, when you told me last time, you said there was a blue car, not a red car. See, you got to remember a lie. It's much more confusing. You're much more less clear in your mind because you're trying to recall something. The scriptures, we don't have to do that. It's the same. No matter what book we're in, no matter where we're at in the Bible, it all works together. There's no contradiction. Yeah.
I like what you said earlier, and it kind of backs it up in the second letter of John and 8. Watch yourselves that you do not lose what we have accomplished, but that you may receive a full reward. And I think like you said, you might be looking at somebody else and not really paying attention to yourself.
Yes. Like the speck in someone else's eye and the mote in your eye. So if you look at, I want you to realize something as we're going through this. Do you notice how the qualifications for the elders, the qualifications for the deacons and Timothy, the qualifications for the older men, what they need to be doing, the women, everything. You see how much that goes together? We all have that same thing. We are all to be sober-minded. We're all to be clear thinkers. And it says, and we're to be dignified and self-controlled. Okay? What does that mean? When you think of someone who's dignified and self-controlled, does that kind of go together? So we're to be sober-minded, self-controlled. Does having lack of self-control be a problem? It can be, it often does, doesn't it? And see, men, I find it interesting, men are probably more likely to be less in self-control than women, I think. Because men react a little quicker. Women think things through a little better. That's why we can't win arguments. But women think things through a little bit. Men react a little more. So we got to be careful that we're just not reacting to something instead of thinking it through first. Anyone other than me have a problem with saying stuff and then thinking about it later? Yeah, loud.
Laziness in the scriptures. I'm always thinking laziness in the scriptures. If you know what to do and you're lazy to do it, you have lost everything.
Right, we need to
All
make
that.
sure we're
You're
doing,
lazy doing it.
Yep.
Man.
so, and dignified, going back to dignified, what does that mean? What does it mean to be dignified?
Worthy of respect.
Okay, worthy of respect.
You're watching your steps.
Is it to be, remember the elders, to be beyond reproach? Being dignified gives, if you're being true, dignified, self-control, you're not giving room for people to contradict you. You're staying true to that, to who you are. And then that helps gain respect. If someone who's dignified and self-controlled is going to be someone you're going to look to and respect. And we're, as Christians, who do we represent? Yeah. So keep that in mind when you're acting out. Are people seeing Christ in you? Are people seeing that you're dignified, clear thinking?
When you're yelling out the window at somebody.
When you're yelling out the window at somebody? Or whatever else? And the worst part of that is God knows your thoughts. Even if you're not yelling out the window. It says, and then again, it says, with sound doctrine, then again, sound in the faith. You think he's trying to drive a point home? Sound in the faith, in love and steadfastness. We all understand love. What does it mean to be steadfast?
Patient.
Patient. What else?
Unmoving?
Sound in faith, you said? Huh?
Unmoving?
Unmoving. Yeah, we can't be wishy-washy. What do you got?
To persevere.
Persevere.
Endure.
Endure.
I think the really dangerous thing, everything you think about, even if you have to make a decision about something, it's those other people that put a little bit of doubt in you, and you think, well, maybe I better think this through, and where you knew what was right, but then you think, why are they confusing me? That's the problem. You gotta watch for that.
That's why we don't listen to people. Yeah. Did you have your hand up? No? Okay. Anybody else? So, we look at all this, we got to be sober-minded, dignified. This is to the older men right now. Steadfast, in loving, self-control, sound in the faith. Does that sound hard?
After dignified, I have the word sensible.
Sensible? Does that sound hard to do? To do all that? How is it that we're going to accomplish that to the best of our ability?
With Christ's help.
What's that?
With Christ's help.
Okay.
By staying in the Word.
By staying in the Word, knowing the Word, and living the Word. That's going to help us with all these things. Yeah.
You have to see that, we can look at these words, and we can, it's easy to be holy on the mountaintop. What did he ask us to do? To go out.
Right.
So it's going to have to do with the people that you run into. That's where you're going to be, I guess, tested, whether you can follow this or not. You can just stay in a bubble if you want to, but that's not what he's told us to do.
Right. Yeah, we can't be in a bubble. We're going to live in this world.
Yeah.
Remember, Paul tells us to not conform to this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of our faith. We need to make sure we know how we're supposed to do. And the whole point of this is the only way we're going to accomplish this is by living how Christ wants us to live in practice.
Right.
In practice. Because if we're just doing it here on Sunday, it needs to come, it needs to be who we are and not just a title. And that's what we need to make sure we're doing. Because it needs to be that impulse. Our impulse should not be doing something that we shouldn't be doing. Our impulse should be doing what Christ would want us to do. That's how we need to train ourselves to react. Yeah.
You know, the term for living is walk. And if you got a good walk, you're gonna walk that way most of the time. Right?
Exactly.
You should walk that good walk all the time. But
Right. And we need to train ourselves to do that. And then he goes into older women. It says likewise. Now you notice this kids is like a continual thing? We need to continually do all these things. So in the same manner, basically, it says, are to be reverent in behavior, not slanderers. Now, reverent in behavior, what does that mean? Humble? Aren't we all to be a little reverent, or completely reverent to the Word, to Christ, to God? Yes, I see it clicking.
So this is like a, more to one another. Reverent in behavior
Exactly.
To one another, so respectful
Right.
type of behavior. Yes, it applies to being reverent to God and scripture
Right.
and stuff, but in this case, he's talking more about just interaction.
Right. And here, and we need to remember that, it's broken up into 3 parts. And this is how we are to act. The first one was organization of the church. And now this is how we ought to be acting as Christians. So it says, not slanderers. Does anybody else have another, what does your version say instead of slanderers?
Not malicious gossip.
Not malicious gossip. That's New King James? Or King
New
James?
American-
New American Standard? The word here is diablo. Devilish gossip. Think about that a minute. In the Greek and also Spanish uses the same word. Here. What's the problem with, what did yours say? What kind of gossip?
Malicious.
Malicious. What's the problem with malicious gossip? Can it come to good? Anything good about that?
Designed to hurt.
It hurts. There's an old nursery rhyme, sticks and stones will break my bones, but word will never hurt me. And that could be that's the worst quote ever.
Yeah.
Sticks and stones will heal. Bad words, gossip, spreading rumors, doing things we're not supposed to be doing, and in that way causes a lot of problems. Deep problems. Churches have been split over stuff like that. And what do you gain? Why do we gossip like that? And here he's referring to older women, but at first to anybody. Why do we gossip? Why would we gossip about somebody?
Make us feel better.
Oh, make us feel better? Oh, look at me. I'm good. I'm better than that person. Do you hear what they did? I heard from such and such, who heard from such and such, who heard from such and such, that such and such did this.
A lot of times you fool yourself into saying that, well, it's the truth. It can be true.
But even if it's true,
But you have to think, well, even though it's true, what is it doing to help and to lift up or to encourage or help?
Right.
Even if it's true, he makes guidelines for all that.
in Matthew chapter 18, how are we supposed to handle stuff like that when we know somebody's done something wrong? Go to that person. And not tell 15 people on your way to that person, or even one. You go to that person, see if there's something you can do to help them. Isn't that the right thing to do? If you gossip about somebody, and then you go to them, are they going to want to listen to you? No. You've already hurt. You've already hurt the heart. And then who knows what rumor gets spread, and that becomes a big problem. And that's a problem we got to be careful with.
That's why you have to, because I've been guilty of it, thinking that because using the lie that I might be helping or whatever, but I have to look to what my motive is.
Right.
I have to look at why I'm saying it.
Right.
And so it really always hits home when I see that, look to yourself.
And here we need to be careful because there's no question about what we need to do. We need to not gossip or slander somebody because it's a devilish act. That's strong. We need to be careful. And because what are we trying to do here? What else does it say? It says, we are to be reverent, not slanderous, nor slaves to much wine. They are to teach what is good, and so to train the young women. And I'll pause right there. Older men, we have an obligation to train the young men and help them in the body. And older women have the same obligation for younger women. I think I've told you before, we went to Tullahoma one time and my cousin was bragging on the 5 different churches, and all the seniors go here and all the young adults go over here to this building. They don't worship together. How does that fit in with what Paul's telling Timothy, or Titus right here? Doesn't, does it? You see, you need that knowledge. You need that experience to help the congregation be strong, to help the young people understand it. And then I want to look at something here. It says, train the young women to love their husbands and children. Now, we need to look at this. Most of the time, when it's a command, the word love is what? Agape. But here is phileo. The word love here is phileo. Who knows the difference between agape love and phileo love? Anybody?
Is agape, agape is always working the person's best interest. Isn't phileo like brotherly love?
Well,
is that the right one?
Not quite brotherly love. It's a more of like agape is an unconditional love for any and everyone. God's love for us is unconditional. It's agape. But phileo is an affectionate love. It's a type, and so and put this into perspective. Sometimes in these times it was arranged marriage. The marriages were arranged. So the young women were to teach, no matter how much you don't like the person that you got hooked up with, you need to learn to have that affectionate love for them. And we need to learn to have that affectionate love for our spouses, our children, the same type of thing. We need to learn that type of love. And the older women are to be that example and teach the younger women how to be that way. Today, with all the divorces, people just do it, and if it don't work out, they just go on their way. Well, that's not how it was planned. Yeah, Jill?
So my in here is encourage, which on the side it says train, so it's encourage and train. You can encourage them also.
Right.
Yeah.
And training them, we need to be doing training with encouragement. Doesn't that work better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The word means to recall to one's senses, to help them come back to their senses.
Help to come back to their senses.
And it doesn't even have to be arranged marriage, right?
Right, it doesn't have to be, no.
How many marriages that, they pick their partner, they don't know how to love each other. And all these things, we have to understand too, that people are coming out of very different concepts of what love is.
Right.
And mankind has always gotten that wrong. And so they're teaching them how to, I always thought it was weird, how would you teach a mother to love their children? Wouldn't they naturally love
Yeah, you would think.
But the right kind of love puts in correct boundaries, puts in correct discipline, teaches them how to manage their household well. It's been stated that a mother sets the tone for the household. Fathers are disciplined, fathers provide, but the mother's presence sets the tone for the household.
Right.
And so if they're doing it correctly, the household is blessed for it.
Exactly.
And so the older women are teaching the younger women, come to your senses.
Yeah.
And understand what it means to really love your family.
And you know, the thing of it is, and actually we're going to get to the household part in a minute here, but the thing of it is, well, if we'll just follow what God has inspired to put down, how much better is our life? You think about that. If your love for your spouse and your children, if you have this type of both agape and phileo love, how much better is your life? I mean, how much better is it? We need to learn to truly love and make things work. Is marriage easy? Do you say I do and everything goes great?
No.
Is having kids have any problems at all?
None whatsoever.
You can go out and buy all the lumber you need and set it there and pray over it. Is the house going to get built? It's a constant work. Marriage is a constant work. Raising kids is a constant work. And I don't think it ever ends. I got older ones and I don't know if it's ever going to end, but it's a constant thing. It's something that you renew always. And the older women are to teach the younger women how to endure, how to be trained, and the right thing to do, so that they can have that type of relationship. And then it says to be self-controlled again, pure. It says working at home. Now, does someone say something other than working at home?
Busy.
Huh?
Busy.
Busy. Does that mean that women can't have a job? Priscilla built tents, didn't she? What does this mean then? You think it could mean to not neglecting your duties at home?
Mine
To
says
keep,
homemakers.
huh? Homemakers. So don't neglect. Your home is your first priority. And that's for whether a wife or a husband. Your home should be your first priority.
I like what the Amish say, keepers of the home.
Keepers of the home.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you can't do stuff outside the home. And does it mean that this is one where, oh man, I'm a man, so it didn't tell me I got to work in the home or keep the home, so it's only for women. You got to make sure, is that what that means? Is that what Paul's saying? No. We'd like to think so, huh,
I was
Gene?
gonna say, Peter.
Sounds good, but that is not what he's saying here. And it's the same thing that Josh pointed out a minute ago. They have an obligation to keep that home sound, organized, and together. And women are good at that. Much better, I think, than men. But we are not free of just putting it on them. We need to work together to help each other to do that. Because you remember it started off with likewise? Yeah.
Love each other, to respect each other, to love each other, to study together, to love the children, even knowing it's hard to love them.
Right. Yep. Roger?
So the American Standard, the footnote says teaching, so it would be teaching at home.
Teaching your kids and by your example, isn't it? Doesn't mean homeschool, but that's another discussion. But let's see, and then it says you're there to be kind and pure. We don't want to skip over that. That's important, to be kind and pure. Does that only apply to women? No. And then the good part, no, I'm joking.
That's a word for everything.
It says, and be submissive to their own husbands. What does that mean? What does it mean to be submissive to your own husband? We just went over this in Ephesians, didn't we? Not too long ago. What is, he lays out how we're to have a relationship. So, we are to love our wives, men, like God loves the church. Like we love ourselves, basically, our own bodies. We're to take care of them. And likewise they are. To be submissive and loving to one another. It's a team thing. Connie always brings up, Sarah called Abraham Lord. She don't call me that, but anyway, I'm just joking.
It's just
So what does it mean to be submissive?
Mine says subject.
Subject. God set an order, doesn't he? You know, we were talking about the eldership watching over. A man's obligation is to make sure his home is a Christian home. And the family is to follow that. And it works as a team. It's the whole team thing, yeah. Oh, I thought you did the old.
No, fine.
So it shows how it works. It says, and then it says, that the word of God may not be reviled. That's the purpose. The whole purpose is right there. The way that the older men are to teach the younger men, the way the older women are to teach the younger women, the whole purpose of this is that God will not be reviled. It's so that we are honoring God in our life. The family unit is honoring God, yeah.
I do have a comment here. So there's a likewise here, so there's a likewise, and then, so it's almost as if when women are working in the home, and the home can glorify God.
Right.
Is what he said.
Yeah.
When things are running smoothly, the home becomes a testament to God. That's a huge, kind of big deal.
That's a real big deal.
And, you know, it's easy, like we were saying, to come here on Sunday, but does our home glorify God?
Right.
Because that's what people see. Right? That's what people, are they coming to your table? You know, when people come over, are you glorifying God? And your home becomes a testament to God.
Right.
I think that's an outreach type of scenario, and that's where the churches were worshiping in the first century. So it really envelops a lot of things.
And that just goes along with what we've been saying, that our life needs to reflect God 24/7. And that, just like Josh was pointing out, the home is the same way. If you're not truly reflecting Christ, if your home isn't, being a wife or a mother or older lady, older man, if your home is not reflecting Christ, does that mean you're truly reflecting Christ? See how it all kind of works together? It says, then it goes on, verse 6, likewise, urge the younger men to be self-controlled. Every aspect of this, from the eldership on, that keeps coming up. Being in self-control. That's a big one, because that can ruin everything. Being out of control, will that ruin your influence on other people? We got to be careful. And it's repeated. Like I said, sound doctrine, self-control is repeated over and over and over in different ways. Sound mind, not giving too much wine, not doing all that which distorts your actions. We need to be careful as Christians. We need to constantly, because that doesn't mean we're not going to ever mess up, but that means we need to strive to do our very best in that regard. Man, I don't get very far. It says, show yourself in all respects to be a model of good works. You know, I always think about, Paul said, do as I do in Christ. Boy, is that a hard statement? Is that a hard thing to say? Just, if you want to know what Christ wants, watch me. How many of you feel comfortable saying that? But should we not strive to be that way? Isn't that what he's saying here? That's a tough one. And the older men are to help the younger men accomplish that by being that themselves. See how this is all tying in? Everybody's to be in self-control. Everybody's to have a sound or healthy doctrine, pleasing to God in everything that we're doing. That is what we strive to do. And that's what this is in a nutshell. And our home should reflect that in all aspects. And it says there, show yourself in a few of your aspects, or some of your aspects,
In all things.
or the best you can. No, it says all. It's conclusive, everything. We are to do the very best, and if when we have places that are weak, what do? We work on those areas that we have problems with, just like anything else. Because the weakest link, the chain breaks, and we need to work on that. Every one of us is going to have different weaknesses. And we're going to have different things that challenge us. What might affect me won't affect you, and vice versa. We need to understand, know, and be honest with ourselves. See, that's another big problem. Quit justifying, well, it ain't that bad, somebody else is worse. We need to figure out what our weakest link is and work on it to be pleasing to God. In all aspects, be a model for Christ. That's a big challenge, isn't it? It says in good works and in your teaching. And we're going to have to stop right here. How do we know? How can we be a model and teach the right thing? What do we have to do? We have to know the Word. How many times are we going to go back to say that? We have to know the Word. And that requires constant study, doesn't it? If you're waiting for Jeff to get up here and preach a lesson, or Josh, or anybody, or class time, to fill all your needs and know what you need to know, you are not going to be complete. We need to study. We need to spend time studying the Scriptures, applying it to our life, and walk the walk.
Yeah. You can read it, but if you don't do it.
You've got to do it. Faith without works is dead. So think about that. Don't just think you're going to be fed from somebody else. You need to study to show yourself approved. That's the only way we're going to do it. And it's serious. We need to treat ourselves like a model citizen for Christ. Challenge yourself. We'll pick up next week in verse 7 here, and 7 and 8 we'll pick up there next week.